Hello, Collab Design for Literacy students. This is Marcos, and this is our week one, our very first recap video for week one and going now into our second week. And as I said in class, I'm making these videos in order to help you guys as an additional learning tool in order for you to have access to a review of what we went over in our last class and to get further briefed on next steps so that I can give you more information maybe than we were able to in class and just provide a place where I can speak again and be able to have you review what it is we're doing and maybe even expand on uh, what I talked about in class or even show further examples like I'll be doing today. But there are rules, and there's one important rule for all these videos that I'll be providing to you, and that is that you cannot, under any circumstances, play it in a faster speed so that my voice sounds like a chipmunk. Not allowed. Now, if there's some emergency, you just have to do it, there'll be a price, a consequence, and that will be that you'll owe me a chocolate bar in the next class. So please remember, always keep my voice dignified at the normal pace. It sounds funny enough as is, as far as I'm concerned. Do not speed it up. You can do the other people, the other teachers, but not me. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's talk about what our class is about. And there's a few of you who missed class, unfortunately. So what I've done with this video is and for anybody who wants to, I've added a little bonus section at the end that will go over some of the things that we went over in class to keep this from being too long. And this briefing video will probably be longer than most because I do want to redo the lecture. In fact, it will for sure be longer than most. But you can skip ahead, no fast forward, but you can skip ahead to the places that are relevant to you. So this is a class, this is a junior level class that you guys are all a part of, and I thank each of you for choosing to be in this class. And it's a collab class. And in this class, as we learned on Thursday, we are partnering with a social venture that my brother Ernesto founded and that I partnered with him shortly after him finding it, called Dirt. And DIRT is a social enterprise, which means that we as an organization have a mission and a mission to do good in a social way, to help improve communities and families and individuals through the sales of our products. So we are advocates for early childhood literacy, and we really strongly believe in the fact that learning at a young age, being exposed to books, and more importantly, being exposed to the reading experience with a loving parent or a loving family member or friend is vital for a child's development. And it's not just good advice, but it's scientifically shown through many studies that if you do not read to a child between the ages of 0 and 4 before they go to school, if they don't get that experience of what you're kind of seeing here of interacting with the book, touching a book, maybe even biting the book, or being read to and having the stimulation of sound and sight and an object. If this activity doesn't happen on a regular basis, 50 minutes a day, let's say, then a child will be significantly behind as they enter their very first day of class at school, at kindergarten. And that is a very big tragedy. And not only will they be behind, but recovering from that being behind could be a big challenge and could affect their outcomes in a lifelong way. So we at DIRT are committed to supporting efforts for families to not only get books, but to be inspired to read them and to read them together and to read them as a family in a loving environment where learning can happen. And as I talked about in class, it's not even so much that we are about academic learning. There is so much that we have to learn, particularly in these younger ages, that don't have to do with like learning the letters or the numbers or sounding out words. That comes later, but what they need to learn is how to see, how to listen, and most importantly, to learn about the beauty of love and family and interactions that happen within these reading experiences. So we're really committed to creating books and products that are within that goal of inspiring the reading experience as you see here on the screen. And so we create books through interactions with students, like what you guys are doing. I had this class for several years. I've also taught other classes at a few other design schools. And through those years, we've created a large number of various kinds of books. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a bit. But in the end, what we do as our social enterprise mission is that not only do we create books to sell and to offer to families who want to purchase books in that sort of normal way, but we also want to be able to provide books to those in need or those who don't have as much access to them or the means to get them. And donating books to young kids and to families are a big part of how we fulfill that mission. And as I had talked about in class, we started our venture many years ago with this idea of really being advocates for the stories of yesterday and the traditions and values that they taught us, and really recognizing the importance of all that knowledge that had happened before us, all those experiences that people had gone through, and recognizing that human nature is a universal experience, whether we experience our lives today, 10 years ago, 100 years ago, 400 years ago. Human nature and the challenges we have to face, the things we need to overcome, the victories we have, the successes we experience are universal. And the stories that have been told about those kind of experiences are valid regardless of when they were written. And so our first step was to really look at the vast amount of literature that's out there and the important stories that are told that may not be valued so much. And we recognize that books in general, in this digital age, in this fast consumption of information and media age, that a big long book is not necessarily as valued as it used to be, or maybe it's seen as important as it used to be. And we wanted to be able to provide access to those books through the work we did with our students by challenging them to take on a novel, understand the novel, and then redesign the cover with their own perspective, pulling out what the values and what the morals and what the teaching of what is it that each of these novels have to say about life and how does it pertain to people today. And through that literacy experience, really giving people access to exploring that. But then in the end, the result would be a line of paperback books that are reimagined through a 21st century perspective. And these classic stories could be available to young people or people of any age, and attract further interest in trying to revitalizing some of these stories in a way that might end up in people's homes and shelves. And we worked through the years creating various formats, short storybooks that were shorter pages and easier to read was our next step. And then we sort of went from older to younger in our audience and started to develop what is going to be our second assignment, this short storybook format that was basically a format designed for young kids, 8 and below maybe, and to give them a format where they could either at the older age look at themselves and read, but more importantly for us was to create a storybook that could be read aloud together between a parent, a loved one, and a child. And so we've been making a range of these books. And as we recognize even further the importance of creating content for different ages, we even thought about the idea that it is important that even on day one, like here on the left, maybe it's day 2 or 3, but it's very early in this young person's experience, that the ritual, the habit, the time together, reading together was important. And it's not even a matter of can they understand or they can't understand the words, but they can understand the interactions and they can understand the experience in a deep and meaningful way. So we created the book you see on the left, which is literally called Read to Me, which was a storybook of characters who were in love with the idea of being read to, and explained just why it's important to be read to. So in a way, the storybook that you read explains to the parent why it's important to read to your child, and gives them a way to do it as they learn about it. And then we explored even further, like what kinds of books should we be thinking about from even the earliest of ages. And so we went into this new format, which you see on the right, which is what we call a baby board book. And we call it a board book because it's literally made of board that's like sturdy and you can't bend it, and it's, you can bite it and it won't get wet. And so we created our first two baby board books by thinking about like what's the core essential uh, go-to book that you should have. And we just thought creating a basic book on letters and a basic book on numbers would be the right place to start. And we created this format that is going to be what you guys will be working on, this big board format that is self-cover and has 7 spreads inside and provides an opportunity for you guys to create a story, an experience, a way of like engaging with books between a parent and a child. And we are going to be diving into that right away this first week, as you know. And so this assignment's been going on for a few years now with Parsons in this class. And I shared a number of them with you in class, and I'll go over some new ones coming up here in a few minutes, giving you more of an insight of what we're looking for in these books. But as you can see, Dirt is trying to distinguish itself as, yes, a children's line of books, but we're also very interested in connecting with a certain kind of parent and really providing a brand that they can relate to from a grown-up perspective, and see these books as something that isn't just in the world of children, but also has a little bit of riz towards the cool hip grown-up that is already got a level of sophistication and wants to choose their brands wisely. So we want you to consider that in the way that we create our book products. And so having these books be part of our first assignment means that we will be printing them. And when I say we, I mean, I will send them out to a printer and create the actual printed books and bring them back for you guys to have, so that we can then have them be part of our class, have them be part of our final presentation. Part of the class will also be outside of our classroom a couple of times, maybe 3, but for sure 2, where we will meet in my class for reviews with outside partners or reviewers. My daughter Demi here, who's extremely good at this, and will give you guys great feedback in the middle of your process. And also we'll be doing a photo shoot and taking pictures so that we have author pictures that we can put on the inside of your books. And if your books end up being on our website, we can use them for that as well. And the final day of class will be a final review where we will bring in a number of guest critique participants, from design professionals to parents to even young kids, who provide really great feedback as you take them through the process of your book design and present them the actual finished pieces that you've created. So it'll be really, really great experience. I'm looking forward to all that. So what are we creating in this class? There are 3 assignments that we'll be taking on, 3 different types of medium that you'll be able to create. And the first one we'll be doing, that we'll be talking much more about here in a second, is the baby board book. And that'll be, I think, 5 weeks of developing that. And we'll design that from concept to final art, and you'll be providing me with the digital files in the way that I request them, so that I can literally upload them to a printer, and they can create printed versions of this. And then we'll follow that. While it's being printed, we'll begin our second assignment, which is the children's storybook, which is an 8x10 book with anywhere from like 16 to 32 or so pages. There's more flexibility in the amount of pages with this book. And this book is meant to be a book that really does more than worry about the experience and the visualness of what the baby board book does. This is where we can now concentrate on the idea of like the importance of stories, and we really value the kinds of stories that are out there that really help shape the views of a child in terms of them understanding what the world is. They're understanding the realities of the world, the good things, the bad things, and help them navigate through their own lives in the future by seeing how others, through the events or through the relationships they had, how they managed through them and how they made the wrong choices and right choices. So we're interested in stories, not only traditional stories from Western civilization, but this is the example here for the on the screen is a flood story, not the one from the Old Testament, but this is a legend from Aboriginal Australian uh, indigenous folklore. And so we like to get stories that are well known and you should have them, as well as stories that are unknown and that you should have as well. And then our third assignment will be once we have both the printed books off to the printers, we will then spend our last 3 weeks creating an audio visual book, is what I call it. You see there a phone, and basically it's meant to be a audiovisual book that works on an app that you play it and the visuals play automatically by themselves. And the sound will be important. The narration, you'll be in charge of creating the narration. You don't have to use your own voice, but if you got friends with good voices, or use AI in a good way, but to create a visual and audio experience that are cohesive. That does concentrate a lot on the listening part of it and provides visuals that support that. I'll be showing you examples of that as we get closer to that assignment, but these are the 3 assignments we'll be doing in our class. We'll be working through Canvas. So this is where you need to follow up here to see what the assignment details. And the syllabus will also be provided there. And I will be sending everybody a syllabus, a Google Doc Google Doc version of the syllabus as well. So you have that version. And the important thing is the Canvas, I'm using it for assignments, but you don't need to submit your assignments in Canvas. I instead require that you submit your assignments on Google Drive using the folders that I provide. Where are they? Everywhere. And I'll share this link every time I give an assignment. In the email you got with this link today is the link to this first Baby Board Book Part 1 research concept presentation. And you can also find the assignment briefings, most importantly, on Canvas, where an explanation of what the assignment is, which also follows up with the link to the Google Drive. And okay, and then as we now talk about further how we work on our first project, I really want to reemphasize that a big part of this class, also beyond the opportunity of designing and creating children's books, is also the idea that we are at Parsons School of Design, and we're here to enhance our design skills. And each of you are being tasked to work as part of the team at DIRT as design professionals and to work in that same model and process of creating projects through the steps you've been learning here at school. And I'll be requiring that we take those steps and that we create a design each week within our presentations that we make, and that the presentations you make are going to be a big part of what this class is about, and how you showcase your process, how you talk about your design proposals, and how you present your solutions on a digital deck. And I'll give you an example today of what that's like. But in terms of these books, as I was saying before, it's important that with what you're doing now is that you jump into this project as a designer, and that you, as much as possible, become familiar with what DIRT is about, what we're trying to say in terms of like our message and our mission, and also our aesthetic. And that although we're a kids brand, that we do want to have that fun-loving kind of attitude about how we present our books, we're also a brand that tries to target the needs of the reader, of the person who's going to purchase the book, of the person who's going to deliver the story. And so the parent and the caregiver is very important. And we do want to make sure that these books have a certain kind of edge, is maybe too harsh of a word, but are uniquely created so that we could be recognized by parents who want a little bit relief from the loud world of kids aesthetic, and maybe find something that has a little bit of familiarity in terms of like funness. And so this book, The Yummies, which really showcases the idea that a book can really be quite, at this level of a baby board book, could really be quite simple and have a mission of just simply introducing kids to the vegetables by turning them into this kind of like goofy gang of amorphosized people or vegetables that have character. And it's not about creating a story in a once upon a time kind of way in this book level. It can be, you can do a little bit of that if you want, but what we want to really push is the idea that you rely on the deliverer of the piece to be a big part of your book experience. And it's not just a piece that's meant to be read out loud. Because if you just read this book out loud, you're just going to get seven or eight or however many names of fruits and vegetables. And what we instead rely on is that this book will be animated even further and deeper by the deliverer of the book, the parent or the caregiver, and enhance the experience even more. So in that way, I want you guys to be thinking about how can you create a book that will connect to the needs of babies, of young children in the right way. And to do that, it's important that we try to understand in this bite-sized kind of way. We can't get too deep into it, but I want to provide this little quick lecture that we did in class, and you can skip ahead if you need or you can. I think you can end here because I think this is the last thing I'll be doing besides the bonus review of other books. Oh no, I'll be reviewing some new books after this lecture, so maybe don't end it yet. Skip ahead maybe. But let's go. No, don't skip at all. Let's review this again. You've heard this once in class, and you can hear it again now because it's important for us to get the right kinds of level of understanding about what our challenges are, and most importantly, what are the opportunities. And I want each of you to look for an insight in this data and in these facts about children and their learning abilities and their experiences. Because when you just find one insight, that can lead you towards what your concept will be. And our first part of this project is to create a concept for our book, not a design, but just to create a concept of what it's going to be. So let's learn a bit more about building babies' brains with books. Babies' bodies and minds grow significantly over the early childhood years. In the first year, babies' brains grow more rapidly than their bodies. So lots is going on within these early years. And right from birth, babies should be read to on a daily basis, at least 15 minutes per day. So as I said earlier, that's a big statistic, an urgent statistic. And so to provide something that's going to be, again, attractive at the early years, at the infant, toddler years, they're not going to be asking you to read anything. You have to be like, I'm going to read this book to them, even though they can't understand a word about it or understand the experiences of what I'm trying to say, or they can understand the experiences, they can't understand the content. So making a book that connects to the adult is just as important as making a book that connects to the child. So in terms of some terms, let's just look at the core audience here, which are 0 to 4. And we can break them down into 3 main categories: newborn from 0 to 2 months, and then the infant from 2 months to the rest of the first year. And then after the first year, they have to year 4, you're considered a toddler, and these are the key stages of early childhood that we're interested in. Okay, so let's learn a little bit more. So from birth to 12 months, it's all about sounds, words, and feelings. So when you're thinking about what kind of content, what kind of theme, what kind of range of interaction you're interested in, it should be in the sounds, words, and feelings category. The content itself doesn't matter. Doesn't mean it shouldn't matter to what you make, but you're trying to create an experience that the adult can deliver, that brings out sounds, that repeats words, or that explains or demonstrates feelings. And then another part of this that's really important in a way that maybe we don't recognize as much is vision. So a baby has to learn to see. It doesn't just, we just don't open our eyes after being born and we can see and understand things as we do now. So between birth and age 3, many babies' vision skills will develop in that time, over that 3-year time. And during the first 4 months of life, your baby should begin to follow and move objects with his or her eyes and reach for things. So using this book as a way maybe to create that prompt to look and point and to have that visualness of it be part of your book experience. That's something you might want to consider in what you're doing. So let's look at the newborn at the first month of the newborn. Newborns 0 to 2 months, but in the first month, beginning to read aloud to a newborn right after birth brings the benefits of establishing a nurturing family routine. So that nurturing family routine, that's key in terms of both what the baby needs and also key in terms of the parent developing that habit in the beginning and realizing as a new parent, or as an ongoing parent, that they have, and in the same way they have to feed and change their and clean their babies, they have to also have a learning experience with them and have an interaction with them that involves a book. So that experience should be a big part of the nurturing family experience that the baby is going to have, and help them feel safe and loved. And to begin this routine at the earliest of age and to continue it throughout the early childhood years, will just have them create a strong connection with books and reading that's going to help them throughout their school and throughout their life in general. So then the second month of newborn babies, from 1 to 2 months, love to see faces and make emotional connections with people. They listen and they feel. So it's starting to be much more attentive in terms of paying attention. And babies love books with real pictures and bold contrast. Read alouds should be slow and exaggerated. Again, so it's about like creating content that doesn't have to elaborate long, but that can be exaggerated by the deliverer of the book. And then infants from 2 to 5 months, babies begin to verbally respond to cooing sounds. So they start making their own sounds. By practicing their sounds while reading together, babies figures out which sounds are important to learn to talk. So they begin to experiment verbally out loud. And then teething begins at as early as 2 months. So the teeth start to want to come out, and infants will enjoy holding, turning, and tasting sturdy board books. So they're gonna want to take a bite out of it. So as I said in class, this is an example of how an insight could lead to a concept. So by learning about this fact that babies at 2 months are going to want to bite into a book, maybe you want to create a book called Bite Me, and that becomes a concept that you develop based on this insight of teething at 2 months. So infants from 5 to 12 months, the second half of the first year, babies will regularly say words like mama, dada, baba, and more. Babies are practicing consonants and new sounds to help them talk. And then from the 9 to 12 months, babies will start to put their coo vowel sounds and babble consonant sounds together to make words. So words start happening. And many kids will start saying their first words maybe before their first birthday. That happens, but for sure shortly after. So speaking becomes something that's part of what they're able to do. And then in terms of vocabulary, the kinds of words they hear and learn about, reading aloud together is important in developing a baby's vocabulary. So the more you can talk to a baby, the more they can be exposed to more and more words, the better off they're going to be. Books selected when reading together should go beyond favorite books, and with selections made that provide new words and experiences. So knowing this might want to prompt you to say that you're going to want to create a book that is heavy on words, because you want to be able to have the person delivering the book spit out a lot of words in some kind of fun way, so that they learn more and more words and get exposed to them. All right, so what are the benefits of sharing books with children? And this is like important to know, because we want this important experience to be something that connects for a reason. So provide sensory stimulation in support of brain development. So basically, a book is a tool to help in learning because of the interactions, because of the visuals, the sounds, and the feelings of love you get from that interaction. And it helps develop language. It creates a joyful, loving connection between babies, toddlers, and loved ones. Yes, it imparts knowledge of the world and how it works. That's a little bit of it, and I'm not taking that lightly, but for sure that is for the second assignment is even more important, but it's important here too. And nurtures a love of reading. Like, let's start the habit of loving to read or loving books at the earliest ages. So just some quick subject matters or themes that might prompt your concept. And maybe you might want to consider, like, if you just pair a couple of these, you pair two of them up, you might even it becomes the concept. So shapes, colors, faces, sounds, animals, feelings, things that go, places, letters or words, counting numbers, people, food. So for example, if you combine colors and food, that could become a book theme, the colors of food, and you can go through and teach both about colors and about food. If it's like shapes and places, you can create a book that has to do with using simple shapes to create uh, different places through the way you arrange the shapes. Feelings and people, sounds and animals. You can create a book on sounds and animals. So this is just a visual of just some of the books that we did, and we went through some of these in class. And I've got some new ones to go through with you in order to kind of give you a further dive into how these books work. Wow, wait, what? Why doesn't it work? Oh my goodness. Um, hmm. Playlists. Okay. All right, so this is a YouTube page that I will share the link to for everyone so that you can get access to these. And these are simply just silent movies of the books being paged through, so you can kind of read these books without having to get your hands on them. And if you read through them and you can kind of see the approaches and get a sense of what they're about. And if you look at the book we're looking at here, which is basically takes the idea of vegetables and uh, they're kind of like sweet and sour, like they're the taste of them and the sensation of them, and utilizes simple shapes to create visuals that are like bold and contrasty, and just gives an introduction to like color and the kinds of foods that are out there, and some traditional kinds of ones or some that are more unique, like this one here. And as you can see, it's just very simple. Like as this first book goes, it's not about, we're not creating a plot and a narrative. That we're just creating something that can be read aloud, that can be pointed to, that could be experienced, that could be fun. And so that's that one. And then let's look at one here. Let's share this one here. So this one here, I think we're going to use this as an example of uh, assignments that we're going to look at in the future. But basically, it's going too fast. It's called Yummy Travels. So this takes two things. It takes food and it takes traveling or different cultures and brings them together and introduces kids to these foods from around the world. And I think this is a really good example of like really trying to connect, not so much just with the kid, but also trying to connect with something that has interest that a millennial or a parent or a Gen Z or Gen Z's having kids, I think they are, a Gen Z parent could connect with that showcases various interesting cultural foods from different countries, and does it in a nice, simple way that introduces these countries and introduces the different foods, and just really, really basic and simple approach to kind of storytelling of a book, and illustrations that are elegant and well designed, typography that's nice and simple. And I think this is just a very, very successful book, and it could be expanded even further with more additions if needed, because there's so many different kinds of cultures of food. Um, and then um, let's look at this here. This is another idea that you might want to consider is to think about some of the things that were important for you in your childhood. And this author here, this design student said, I really love the song Rain, Rain, Go Away, Come Back Soon Another Day. I don't know if you guys sang that when you were kids. Rain, rain, go away. Well, she said, I'm going to take the lyrics of that song, but I'm gonna change it to Rain, Rain, Don't Go Away, because she loved the rain and she loved to be out in the rain as a kid. So she created a book that celebrated the rain using the lyrics from the song, and then altering them to make them more about her experience as a child, and the experience of being out there in the rain, putting on your raincoat and your boots, and seeing the benefits of rain in terms of what it does for nature and how it helps our world grow and flourish. And just the idea of even transferring the wet experience into the bathtub and helping parents get kids to like taking a bath, which is very important. And of course, the promise of the rainbow at the end of the storms, which is always a good thing to show. So that's another approach you might want to take. You might want to think about like, well, I really want to, it's important they start learning about science. And so this student kind of thought they could create a baby board book that gives a chance for an adult to speak out loud and say something they might be interested in, but also be able to introduce kids to the galaxy. And so Giant Floating Rock is a story about Earth and Earth's friends, introducing Earth to the child and the idea of like where we belong in the world and what our world is like. And then the friends of the Earth are the planets, and the idea of even having friends, and having an old friend like the sun, and talking about the sun as a friend, a part of your friend group, and having closer friends like the moon. And the moon is somebody we can always rely on. Most of the time, she's out there, and just in general, talking about this idea of what our world has to offer in terms of its natural elements, and of course the people that are in this world and how they're all part of the world we're in. So that's a good way to like take kind of a really, really big picture idea and just bring it down to a simple explanation. Um, and then this book here really is about like beginning to have the child understand who they are as a unique individual called I am. And if you take your time to read this, it's just very nicely written and it's short and the graphics are simple, the text is simple, but it's really just a book of affirmation, teaching the kid that they're valuable as young unique individuals and that they're beautiful and that they have something to offer and really a good book to help in giving kids confidence and understanding of who they are as individuals and their worth. So that could be a theme that you might want to consider, like, oh, yeah, how can I create something that's going to make a child feel valuable and go from there? And then what else can we look at here? Maybe one more here. Okay, this one here, you might be interested in being a little more helpful in terms of like getting babies when they're at the right age to begin to express themselves in words. So this book is just dedicated to like putting together sounds to create a word and teaching them how to say these words by breaking them into two pieces, but also at the same time introducing them to the world of animals. So again, there's like several things going on here. It's also that this idea of illustrations that are more contrasty and more attractive to kids because they're just kind of like they have hard shapes that are easier to recognize. But just creating a book that's also aesthetically beautiful for child and for adult and making it a learning lesson for how to say words and not being afraid to like let's learn some real things here like tiger or panda. Let's learn how to talk. Um, and yeah, so that's basically that. Um, I don't know why my thing didn't work the way it should have, but let's see if I got anything more that I can add to that. Um, okay, so as I was saying, this is all on the Google Drive, and I'll share the link with you, and you can look at that and view it as you need. Um, okay, why am I back here? All right, so your first step in designing your book is going to be to create a concept presentation, and I'm going to give you an example of what that presentation is, but I want you to research existing books, research existing visuals that are attractive to you, and then create a concept for what your book can be like. I don't want you designing anything yet. I just want you to put that together. And so this is the text that's in the canvas, and you can read that specifically. But let me take you through an example of this concept deck, which is right here. All right, so for week 2, for next week, for next Thursday, a week from yesterday, or a week from Thursday, we're going to create a presentation deck that showcases research and your concept statement. So we're going to present dirt and the assignment. So showcase 3 examples of existing baby board books. I'm going to find 3 existing books that you like and present them and explain what is it about them that are interesting to you that might apply to your approach. And then I want you to research visual approaches and techniques and implementations and create a design inspiration mood board pages that showcase these various kinds of ways of creating visuals that you can talk about and highlight what you think you can execute for yours. And then I want you to think about what your concept is and write it in words. I don't want you to design anything yet. I just want you to write the concept. So let's look at what this is. So basically create a nice neutral presentation that has your name, that has the title of the assignment. I want you to spend the second page after the intro, just tell me what dirt, write down what dirt is about. And you can literally take these words right here and repeat them, but create your version of a page like this. I want you to say what the assignment is. Tell me what the assignment is and what your goal is for the entire assignment overall. and then get into these three case studies. So showcase a book like we see here, the book Colors by Alexander Gerard, and try, finding a unique book that also is, this book here is for kids, but it also has this kind of sophisticated design that's attracted to adults. And this is a book on national parks and showcases also a unique illustration style. And then a book on California surfing. And these are all just meant to both help you understand how books are executed and created and give you inspiration towards that. And then I want you to create a set of mood boards that showcase visual techniques and illustration or typography or color or collage or whatever it is that you think you can do. Think about your own abilities, your own interests, your own how you can execute this book in the style that you have. Both think about like what you're able to do and consider using the skills you already have, or also thinking about like maybe this is a chance to try something new and different. Be careful with that. Don't make sure you're able to do it. You don't find yourself unable to finish it, but be open to trying something new. And then after doing a couple of those illustration, color, typography, mood boards, create a statement. And this is, I'm gonna read this one out loud. Breakfast foods is a fun and easy way for kids to learn about the exciting world of breakfast foods. The most important meal of the day. With this book, infants and toddlers begin to learn about the bright colors and fun shapes that breakfast foods come in. They can start to become familiar with croissants, unique shapes, or color contrasts, the contrasting colors of eggs. Using a simplified, somewhat flat but textured style of illustration, breakfast foods will illustrate basic breakfast foods and colors that are associated with them. Breakfast foods could continue as a series of into lunch foods and dinner foods. So, okay, so this is perfect. So this is basically the idea of like writing down and helping me and the rest of the class try to visualize what it is that you're trying to do. And if you can do that in words, then you know you have a solid idea, because creating a concept has to do with the content of the concept and the execution of the aesthetic. So you've showed us mood boards, you've showed us the kind of aesthetic you're interested in, and now as this concept is told to us out loud in words, each of us can begin to imagine what this might look like, and provide a chance for us to have a dialogue before you dive into the design of it. So the key is going to be on the Thursday second week class, that you provide me and your classmates a chance to hear your idea before you've taken further steps to develop it, and to give us a chance then to give feedback, so that when you do start designing it, you've been given opportunity to hear about what other people think, and this is why we call it collabs. And the other reason is that, yes, you're working for a client now. So as Dirt's co-founder, like I want to be able to say like, I like this, I don't like that, or how about try this, because we need to make sure that we're keeping it in brand in line with our message and our aesthetic. Okay, and then always make sure at the very end you have a thank you page. Each of you, this is an important lesson. Always be grateful at the end of something. At the end of these presentations, I want you to put a thank you page. And not just because it's important to be grateful, but it's also good to know when the presentation's over, instead of sitting there hitting it again, thinking, oh, is there more? But no, say thank you at the end. And yeah, I said no design, but she did give a little hint of maybe what she wants to do in the thank you page. So you can be sneaky. All right. I think that's generally it. Oh, here's the book. So let's just take a look. We're gonna zoom ahead, and so that was the week one, and this is now after 5 weeks. The book is finished, and this is her execution of breakfast foods, taking these flat illustrations that are kind of done in a casual modern way, using typography, using color, and celebrating the various kinds of breakfast foods in a way that's going to attract both kids and also the parents to be able to share in this book. And it really kind of turned out to be a great success. I think this book is really well done. You can see there's like additional, besides just the name of the word of the food, there's also a little extra statement in there, and then the back. Okay. All right. Okay, so all this is on Zoom, and there's on Canvas, and there's a very specific list of what you need to do on your presentation. Make sure you make it a 16:9 kind of format, or a landscape format, so that it fits nicely on the screen, and in a PDF, PowerPoint, or Canva, or whatever else you're now using to create presentations. I do have a bonus section, but I don't know if it's going to work. Oh, it does work. Okay. All right. So this is the bonus section. if you've already, if you've seen enough, if you were here for last class, then you don't have to keep going, but there's a few of you who missed last class. I'm just going to take you through a few more examples, but no one's feelings are going to be hurt if you leave now. But this is one of the books that we looked at in class, and it's called Say What. And so what I like about Say What is that first it has a cool, hip, compelling cover, almost kind of sassy, like Say What? And it's white and simple, and the typography is integrated with the illustration. So there's a really nice level of sophistication in this that is kiddish, but also is very grown up and very like kind of cool. And I know that sounds kind of frivolous, but it's important that it be kind of cool and have a little bit of a different aesthetic than typical kids books, while still being a typical kids book. And I think she has done an excellent job here. So Say What? And the cover is important. Like the cover has to really represent it, and the more of a mystery you can leave, the better. So it's like when you see a cover like this, you're like, say, what do you mean, say what? What are you trying? Like, what's this about? You want to go into more. If you explain the sounds that animals make, like if you start explaining too much, then then you're giving away the thrill of discovery. So with Say What, basically it takes a very simple idea of identifying the kinds of animals and insects that are out there that actually make sounds, and there's not that many. I mean, not all of them have sounds, but to then fit all those sounds into the simple onomatopoeia, is that the word? When you make a pow, like the rar, moo, and to create typography that simply shows those onomatopoeia words, but then integrates the animals hidden kind of inside the word, and provides a chance then for it not only to look good, but then for the deliverer of the book, the parent, the caregiver, the babysitter, whoever, to then make these sounds, and they can bring their own personality to this book because they can do a growl or a buzz or whatever the sound is in their own unique way, and really create a book that kids are going to love and laugh. And it relies on the deliverer of the books. So I think this is just a great example of a successful dirt baby board book. And then Shape the World. Here's another idea that we take shapes and objects and bring them together and introduce kids to the basic shapes and colors that are out there, triangles, squares, circles, and then shows how our world works in terms of the components needed to create visuals. And so if you take certain shapes, you arrange them in certain ways and add some details to them, you can begin to illustrate. And so we introduce kids not only to the circle and the square, but to the idea of a house or a home and how you can actually make one. It's not literally meant to teach kids how to draw. It's just in that spirit. So this book does a nice job of kind of having a design aesthetic that's feels educational, but also fun. It's kind of like a big moving flashcard almost, right? And uses kind of this idea of math, like this plus this equals this, and that's kind of a great thing to learn. And then some of the favorite objects like ice cream cones or school buses that kids are fascinated with, or even fish, or animals like their pet cat or whatever. And also to the letters of the words that they're associated with and how they're spelled. So it's got a little bit of everything done in a simple, nice way that's not at all overwhelming. And again, relies on the delivery of the caregiver to use their voice, use their personality, and make it even more compelling. Okay, and then another one is how do you feel? So this is about human feelings, but it's also bringing in a twist by connecting human feelings with animals and creating animal characters that personify each of these feelings, whether it's being surprised or being happy or being afraid or being angry, and kind of try to explain the fact that as a young child, you're going through these feelings in a much more dramatic way, hopefully, than you are as an adult, and begin to understand like what it is to feel these ways, and that it's okay to feel scared or afraid, and that happiness comes through the idea of being calm and helping kids understand emotions at an early age. Um, and then this next one is called What Do You See? And it's just like such a cool cover, and it's got this little character that is your host. I don't even know what that shape is, but this takes you through the book, and it takes on a trip to the farmer's market or the grocery store, and introduces you to different kinds of foods, from vegetables and fruits. Uses illustration and uses like fun looking eyes and emotions like being surprised and I guess the fish is surprised that he got caught. And then also gives an interactive game, like what else do you see? It asks the question, and then it provides you with a big landscape of the produce section. And at this point, you can begin to point and say names, and leaves you with a full grocery cart full of produce. So I think that's really, really smart, nice book. Um, there's another one here. Let's see. Okay, this is a great example. So we looked at this in class, Monster Planet, and this is in the realm of like, let's create books that the caregivers, the grown-ups, the young adults, or the older grandparents even are going to want to read because they're providing content that's actually interesting and informative to the adult. And so this book, this student said, I'm going to take on the idea of like introducing these so quote unquote monsters by showing the different kinds of characters in different cultures that represent kind of like scary characters or monstrous characters that are within the cultures of these different regions of the world. So Monster Planet, and around the world, talks about characters like Bigfoot, and here in America we have legends of Bigfoot and how he's this big, strong, hairy person, or in Mexico there's Onza, and introducing you to this person and telling what they're are about, or and the Zimbabwe kind of water dragon, or looking at this Irish puka, whatever that is. But like these, like, even as we read this now, we're like, whoa, what are these? A flying Japanese, what was that? Like, I want to read this more, and learn about who's scared of what in what part of the world, and how do our fears personify themselves into these kinds of creatures, and then also making them friendly and scary and friendly at the same time. And introducing the idea of like, yes, there are fears, there are mysteries out there, there are things that we don't know fully about, and that's okay. And that's part of the like this big picture part of the world that we need to teach our children about, and to not be afraid of things like that. And okay, I don't know how many more we have left, but let's just keep going. So this is another one that helps really connect to the kid and to the adult by providing a book called Speaking in Flowers, and showcasing on the left these beautiful but also in kid intriguing kind of illustrations that have little faces, but also introduce you to the various types of flowers in the world, and some of what they represent in culture, like what flowers mean, or what they symbolize, or why people give certain kind of flowers, or why people have certain kind of flowers. So it's like a really kind of sweet and informative book that also allows for reading time to be fun and all kind of calming too. Um, Okay, and this is also kind of a great simple book where and books don't have to have a lot of content in terms of text. So this one says before and after in the beginning. It shows a watermelon uneaten and a watermelon eaten. And from there, you take it from there. And it basically is just very simple cause and effect kind of book. Talks about how something can be one thing at one point, and then it could become something else. And for us, that's just a really obvious idea, right? But it's not when you're just starting to understand the world and see what's out there. So to go from a frozen ice cube to a puddle of water, you're teaching something, you're making something fun, and without having words on here, you're creating a new author every time someone opens this book by them having the pressure or the need to then deliver something and say words, and to create their own stories about what each of these before and after uh, ingredients to cookies or whatever it is, they can talk about how that affects them. Here you can't see that the light, the lamp is actually there. It's black on black, but the light isn't quite showing it, but it's a lamp in the dark. And there's the watermelon seeds on the back. Okay. Is there one more? Okay, yummy colors. I think I said this as an idea before. Take food and take colors and put them together, you got yummy colors, and yumminess has to do with food, but not colors. But if you connect that association, it makes it interesting and unique. So here we have a couple things going on. First, we introduce the idea of a color. And within that color, there's a whole range of different kinds of foods that are that color. And then underneath the big word of the vegetable, of the color, I'm sorry, it asks you to find something. So can you find the peach? Can you find the pineapple? Like there's a little, like, point out something from this collage of elements and see if you can find what it is. So it kind of gives you a little prompt, where's the Brussels sprout? And this is green. And as an adult, you're going to point out what's what. and showcase the different vegetables and rely again on the knowledge of the caregiver to be able to talk about, I don't even find out what these purple things are besides eggplant and pepper. Um, and then it turns into this other lesson of like eat your vegetables, and and if this creates a love or an interest for kids to want to eat vegetables, you've done quite a thing with this book. Because believe me, once a kid decides they don't like something, it becomes a decision for a long, long time, and that can be harmful to not eat certain kinds of foods. Whew, okay. So that's the end of the bonus section, and that's the end of the video. I know this has been super long, and if you've been through this whole thing, great, thank you so much. But I just want to make sure that you guys have a good sense of what we're after with this first book. Looking forward to seeing your presentations on Thursday. Put together a good deck. Follow the instructions I gave you. Put each part that I asked for, please do, because that is going to be part of what I'm going to evaluate you on. Like, are you following through on the requests? And are you doing those requests in time? And we haven't talked about this yet in class, and I'll repeat this in class. But grading is going to be something that's going to be important in terms of like how you get the kind of grade you want in this class. And my philosophy with this is that everyone is good, and if you want to be, and that's a B, and if you want to be an A, then you got to be excellent. So you're starting off as good. I'm assuming you're good, and then next I want to see excellence. And excellence is simply going to mean to follow through on what I asked for, to give feedback to others, and to take feedback in, to be professional, to be on time, to do your best, and most importantly, to improve. Are you improving through the process? And I want to give A's. I am an A making machine. I love making A's. And what I don't like is when the A making machine gets stopped, and gets stopped by you for not turning in an assignment on time, or for being late too many times, or for not listening to feedback, or not putting everything in the assignment that was requested for, or not uploading it to the Google Drive. Like, don't stop the A making machine from making a big, beautiful A for you, because it's already beginning to rev up. I've revved up the A making machine now. It's cranked up, and everyone is about to begin to make their A. So be in the next class with your full assignment as asked for, and follow through every time with everything I request for. And that beautiful golden A will be ready and waiting for you at the end of this class. I want to give everybody an A, and I hope to do that. All right, guys, thanks so much for being with me through this full video. I promise the next ones will be shorter, and I will see you all in class. Thanks so much. Bye.